When justice goes too far, here's your look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, The Grim Knight. Ripped from Batman's greatest nightmares, the Grim Knight is the world's most dangerous vigilante, unafraid to use any weapon and go to any lengths to stop those that he deems worthy of death. Armed with the finest arsenal Wayne money can buy, he is now one of the deadliest Dark Knights in existence, second only to the Batman Who Laughs. Now, admittingly, the Grim Knight is an older figure. Both reviews of him as well as availability in stores have been circulating for quite some time. Many of you probably already have this in your collection. I'm a little behind, unfortunately, getting the review of this one done. Finally found him online for a good price. Still here in Canada, can't find any of these. Decided to pick him up and add him to my collection. So apologies in advance. Like I said, it's going to be a slightly older figure. We're going to take the tape measure right to the very top of the Grim Knight's head, stopping it right there. Perhaps with the recent airing of the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, maybe it was one of the reasons why I also wanted to finally get down to reviewing this guy, the Grim Knight, sort of Batman in the future, taking things too far. The figure stands 7.1 inches in height. We can switch that quickly as centimeters, revealing that the Grim Knight is 18 centimeters exactly. Bring in a couple of figures for comparisons. Here he is next to the Death Metal Batman, a figure that we just recently had a look at not too long ago. He's a little bit smaller than him. And we can also bring in the Batman Who Laughs. Any reason I have to bring in the Batman Who Laughs. This happens to be the Batman Who Laughs from the Merciless wave, something we looked at not too long ago either. Now, when you compare him, say, to the likes of these two characters on either side of him, he is going to be a little bit smaller than Death Metal Batman, not as big and bulky, but he's around the same height. About the same build as the Batman Who Laughs here to his right. Guns, guns, and more guns are all the accessories that come included with Batman. Well, that's not actually 100% true. He does also come included with a trading card. I almost dropped it. There it is right there. You can see there's the Grim Knight Batman standing on top of what seems to be a statue of the Batman Who Laughs. I think that's pretty cool. You can see he's doing something that Batman tends not to do and carries around weapons with him. One thing that you probably may see right now, comparing it to the figure, there's a whole lot more paint on the depiction of Batman here than what we actually get on the figure itself. But anyways, we can flip around to the back of the card. Stats shown on the back says the source material is Batman Who Laughs Comics 2016. Real name is Bruce Wayne. Height 6'2", weight 210 pounds. Long time people have been watching these reviews of the DC Multiverse figures that I've been doing. Thank you for that, by the way. Have probably noticed that Batman's stats have stayed the same for the most part on the back of all of these cards. Always seems to be around 6'2", always seems to be around 210 pounds. I know there's examples that go against that. But again, I like these. I always put these in my sheet card protectors right after these reviews to keep these cards pristine, keep them preventing damage, crumpled corners, anything like that. I'm going to put that to the side just for the time being. He also comes included with the same display stand we've seen with other DC Multiverse figure reviews. And sort of through that, I always feel like I end up repeating the same thing that I say with all these other reviews. Yes, it's a circular base. Yes, it's got a DC logo. Yes, it does have the single peg up the top hand corner. But again, I like the fact that we get these. Put that to the side. And like I said, Batman comes with a whole lot of guns. Starting first, he comes with... it kind of looks like an art piece that you would look to find maybe in a real obscure art exhibit, but it's basically just a whole bunch of molded guns together. The whole plan of these is the fact that they're supposed to attach to his back. You can see that there's a peg right on the back there, and that's going to attach to the back of Batman's torso. I don't really know how we would be able to hold all these. I mean, it's somewhat ironic that Todd McFarlane is the one that designed this figure, because this would all be for something you would expect that Spawn would be carrying, a whole armament of weapons on his back. But unfortunately, here's one of my big issues with this figure, is the fact that even like looking at these guns, there's no paint to separate one from the other. Because they're all using just the molded black plastic, I almost want to say purple for a second, there really is no separation. There's no divide. There's nothing that says that's one gun from the one next to it. It really could have afforded a whole lot of extra paint. And if you probably have followed along Thank you for that, all my reviews of these. One consistent thing I always point out when it comes to these DC Multiverse figure reviews is that the figures really lack a lot of times necessary paint application. And no better the example, I feel, than the Grim Knight Batman here. Anyways, that is his armament, his rackage of guns. I want to call it rackage? I don't know. You spin the figure around to the back, and he does have a peg hole located on the back like that. Before we plug that into place, I want to show you guys the detailing of the pockets. There's several different, looks like bullets and other things located on the back of his torso. All the things that Batman would be needing to fight and eliminate crime. Take that, plug it into the back like that, and that's basically what you get. Now, you can, of course, tilt this depending on your preference, like to have that kind of dead center, but that is definitely already a lot of guns. A little bit too many guns, if you ask me. The figure does, of course, as a result of adding the guns, make him a little bit more top-heavy. I also have one issue with his ankle that we'll talk about in a second. But I also want to look at the other guns. Yeah, there's more to come include with this figure. Starting first, he comes with a grenade launcher. Kind of looks like the MM1 grenade launcher from Terminator 2. It is a little on the warp side, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to heat this up. I didn't do any bit of heating when it comes to these accessories. I left them as is. Exactly the way you see them out of the packaging. I didn't want to change them, just to show you there's a little bit of warping going on there. Again, no paint, just molded black plastic. Could have thrown a dog a bone and add a little bit of paint, but unfortunately, no, not the case. I probably could go in there myself. I don't think I'm as skilled the artist as I believe I am, but probably could add a little bit of paint to that just to make it look a little bit more oomph, give it a little more oomph. Next to that, slightly smaller, he comes also included with like a submachine gun. And it kind of looks like an HK MP5 submachine gun. I mean, I was just sort of kind of finding a submachine gun that would be close enough to proximity to this, and that's probably the closest one I could compare it to. Again, it's just molded black plastic. Nothing, unfortunately, nothing added to the clip, nothing added to the handle, no silver dry brushing, anything to it. Unfortunately, the submachine gun, there he goes, he's going to fall over, is just lacking everything in the way of paint department. In the paint department. Anyways, let's go ahead and pick up Batman. Poor Batman has fallen over. You can go ahead and take the guns, put them into his hands. There's no real set rule in place that you have to put one in one hand, one in the other. You can leave one off completely if you wanted to. Certainly when it comes to displaying this guy for myself, I'm probably going to have, there you go, just like that. And I kind of had this at the beginning of this review, kind of have the arm bent up like this. I think that looks super cool. Lacking, yes, the necessary paint, but it doesn't deny the fact that that's a pretty cool looking Batman. Little on the extreme, if you ask me. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove these. I'm going to put those to the side. It would, of course, prevent me from being able to show you the details on the figure. I think what I might actually do, too, is take this off as well. Because when it comes down to the looking at the articulation on the figure, and of course just for spinning the figure around and showing you guys the details on it, everything would be blocked by a big giant fence of guns, and I don't want that. So getting a closer look at Batman here, I do really like this Batman. Yes, it's a little on the extreme side, but I do think the head sculpt is really good. It's one of the better Batman head sculpts if you want just a defaulted head sculpt. I have yet to try this as a little experiment of mine, but I think the head sculpt is so good, I'm almost considering popping this off and swapping it with the body of the original Batman that we got from the DC Multiverse line. I don't know. Is that crazy? It might be. Then, of course, this Batman wouldn't have a head. I guess I could swap the two swapsies. I could swap, back and forth. But I think that's a really good looking head sculpt. It is better than the first head, the first Batman that we got from this line. Paint is pretty good. The lips, as you can see, are a different color than the rest of his face. I feel like the skin tone is a little on the pale side, but not to the point where I feel it ruins the head sculpt. I still think it looks really good. The eyes painted nicely white. It kind of, again, looks like Nightmare Batman from the Snyder cuts. By the way, has anybody seen the Snyder cut yet? I hope you have. Of course, Affleck's Batman didn't have as much weapons all over his body. He's got several bandoliers, well, I guess crisscrossing a bandolier with clips, of course, adorning it, several different pockets. There's even a couple of holstered guns in there as well. You can't remove these. These are permanently sculpted in place. He's got guns located on here on the side as well. Again, like the word I would use to describe this is excess. Unfortunately, what I wouldn't describe this figure as when it comes to paint is excess. Because unfortunately, like all the figure is mostly black. There is a little bit of paint that saves the day, Like, for example, the bat emblem here is a nice light. It's almost like a bluish gray, and it's raised from the rest of his body. And then, of course, with the bandoliers running across the front of it, it gives it a nice little bit of depth to the figure. There's a lot to really take in on this particular Batman. Not so much from a color standpoint, but from a sculpt standpoint, lots and lots to take in. Of course, he's got the, as we look at the rest of the Batman, there are a few little things that, of course, are trademark Batman. Like, for example, the gauntlets with little blades sticking out. Those a little bit more futuristic, a little bit more in design. I do like the, as you can see right there, the little meshing that they've sculpted to the plastic. That looks really good as well. But again, my running problem with these figures, and some of them are a little more extreme than others when it comes to cases of this, the figure really doesn't have a whole lot of other paint going for him. It's black on black on black. Yeah, a little bit of the logo color there, and the gauntlets are a different color, but there's so much black going on this character. I really feel they could have added something a little bit more to it. You've got a little tiny knife holstered there on the front of his belt there, in front of his leg there, and a couple little pockets located on the side. I do like this little touch, that they added these bat emblems on his knee guards. That's really nice. My real issue with this figure, right out of the package, is that this ankle is loose. I don't know why it's loose. I can't see anything that's necessarily broken on it, but the ankle is quite loose. Let's see if I can maybe... I don't know if there's a repair that's required. I mean, this looked like this was really loose from itself. I don't know if I don't know if that's actually chipped. It kind of looks like it's chipped. But again, I haven't done anything to the figure outside of just moving the ankle. I'm going to see if I can repair that. But it is a little on the loose side. But I can't help to also notice and point out that it seems like his feet are on the wrong foot, as you can see right there. I assure you, no trickery behind the scenes. I've not switched these feet. And yet it seems like the boots are on the opposite side, right? This should be on the inside of this foot and vice versa. So it looks like clearly what they've done here is they've assembled a figure, but they've assembled it with the wrong feet in the wrong pegs. And that's a bit of a shame. Other than that, I mean, like, aesthetically, the figure looks great. It's got a great sculpt, but what really does lack on this figure is paint. And I know I so frequently say that, but that's definitely the case when it comes to Grim Knight Batman here. Let's go through the articulation now on Grim Knight Batman. His head rotates back and forth, hinges up and hinges down, as well as all the things that you would expect a ball joint to be able to do. One thing, though, is despite the fact he's got this scarf at the top of his torso, it doesn't limit at all what you can actually do with his head. The head moves up and down perfectly fine, back and forth perfectly fine, and yeah, you can rotate the head all the way around. No problems whatsoever there. When it comes to his shoulders, again, you've got that full hinge joint. In this case, you can actually go beyond the point of a 90-degree angle bend. He does also have the same socket joint, but although the sockets here on these joints don't seem to be as stand out as maybe some of the ones we've looked at before, the arms rotate all the way around. He has a swivel on the bicep. He has a double hinge on the elbow, and then he has also articulation in the hands. You can rotate those all the way around, hinging them back and forth. Upper torso ball joint. Nothing at all from the bandolier obstructs what you can do with the torso. You can move it perfectly fine, up and down, back and forth, and it does feel like it's a separate piece. You can shift it around if you want. I guess you could take this off too, although it would involve you having to cut it to remove it. There's no clear connection point where these pieces are attached together and you can just unclip them. Once you remove them, you're pretty much going to have to cut that plastic in order to do that. Anyways, though, for his legs, the legs split out. You can move the legs forward and back. You get swivel at the top of the thigh, basically where that's attached to the ball joint. He has a double hinge on the knee. And then again, when it comes to his feet, it's so sad that I got the wrong feet on the wrong pegs. And one seems to be broken. But anyways, the feet move back and forth, ankle pivots. You can move them up and down this way. You can rotate them all the way around this way. And he does have toe articulation. I'm going to have to see if maybe I can do a little bit of surgical work here on the Grim Knight Batman to pop these boot feet off, switch them around, and somewhere through the doing of that, see if I can actually fix what probably is now a broken peg. It just seems really a lot looser than it needs to be. So there's going to be a little bit of, like I said, I'm going to have to do a little bit of TLC on Batman here. Despite that, it's actually a good looking figure. Let's go ahead and pop this back into place. I am, yes, admittingly a lot lot behind when it comes to the review of this guy. You know what? I'm going to actually get the display stand. I just have a fear that he's going to be falling over while the rest of this humble reviewer's dialogue continues for the end of this video. There we go. Pop that in place. All right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a great looking Batman. It's not everybody's type of Batman that you would expect. You know, armored up, lots of guns everywhere. Everywhere as far as the eye can see from head to toe. This guy's got armor, armament, guns, rifles, machine guns. Well, you name it, he has it. But really, the thing that lacks the most on this figure is not the wrong, incorrect placement of feet. That's something that was probably only exclusive to my figure, lucky me. But the thing that really does lack on this figure, that has seemed to lack on several of these DC Multiverse figures, has been paint. Really, when, again, you compare it to the source material, or you compare it to some of the artwork, the work that these artists have done online through various social media, like Facebook, for example. There's a lot of people that have posted pictures of these DC Multiverse figures with some additional paint. And really, when you do compare what they've done versus to what we get right here, yeah, Grim Knight Batman does lack a little bit in the paint department. I really wish they could have added a lot more to it so that the guns on his back look like they're separate from one another and that his costume has a little bit more going for him than just simply black. For those that would make the argument that the Cape Crusader never uses a gun, probably don't maybe look in the direction of the Grim Knight Batman, who's wearing guns like people wear hoodies. Okay, like, first of all, how is this even practical? And I know I'm just arguing the idea that a comic character can't possibly carry around that many guns on his back, but look at them. How does these even strap to his torso? How does he run around? I couldn't even run around as a kid with a backpack on my back. The idea that Batman is wielding, 8 different machine guns and rifles on his back is perplexing to me. I know, again, I'm just throwing out something about a comic character. How's that even realistic? I should probably just stop myself right there. If he isn't carrying them around, he's got them on his outfit. Small little guns, small little pouches, small little ammunition, all ready to go around. Again, the thing about this problem with this character is, while he does look good as a sculpted figure, unfortunately, just so much of it is black. And again, looking at that torso, it's so ridiculous, and yet I love it. The back of his torso, without, again, that needed bit of paint, it looks like somebody just took a whole bunch of G.I. Joe rifles and melted them under a sun and magnifying glass just to come up with these big balls and mounds of plastic. It really did need a little bit of paint to break that up. There's so much black going on this figure's costume that, yeah, just a little bit of paint could have gone a long way. And that really is my only nitpick about the figure. Yeah, short of the fact that, yeah, his feet are on the wrong foot. Feet are on the wrong leg, I should say. And unfortunately, it looks like one of my ankle pegs, I don't know if it just broke off. There's no plastic anywhere. All I did was move the ankle, and yet it was loose. It was loose getting out of the packaging, as what you saw in this review. So I don't know really what has happened. Do I even want to take the chance to pop those feet off and swap them around? What if I break the other peg? What if both feet, both ankles become so loose that the figure isn't going to stand? Maybe I'll just leave it as is and keep those feet on the wrong leg for the time being. Because again, I don't want to cause any more damage to this figure. The figure looks great. I just don't want him having any issues with standing up. Because again, for this much firepower that's on the figure is also going to equal a lot more top heaviness when it comes to him standing upright. Probably ankle is the last thing I would want to have go wrong with this figure. Because again, short of using a display stand, he is definitely going to probably fall over. Probably falling over. I'm debating myself with that. He probably is going to fall over if I'm not using a display stand. So yeah, I'm going to use one. Sorry again for the late review on this guy. It was a case where, yeah, I did want to pick him up. Yeah, again, I know so many other people have reviewed the Grim Knight, but it still didn't mean that I didn't want to throw my hat into the mix, talk a little bit about what I like about the figure, talk a little bit about what I don't like about the figure. And now, because of me, you guys are probably thinking that Batman is wielding around these giant guns on his back. How's he even doing that? Did you also have problems carrying around a backpack full of textbooks? I couldn't run. I try running, that thing would bop up and down and end up hitting me in the back of the head. You imagine Batman running around with all these rifles on his back? Anyways, I digress. What do you guys think of the DC Multiverse, the Grim Knight? Yes, who has admittingly been around for a while now. Have you picked up this figure for yourself? If not, what do you guys think of it based on this review? Always like reading your comments down below. If you guys are also new to this channel and you're enjoying all the content you're seeing, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and come back to this channel Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are also going to be looking at some more DC Multiverse figure reviews. So if that's the kind of thing that you guys like checking out on this channel, just know there's going to be a lot more coming your way. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.